Hello, guys. Welcome here to another Sunday morning Tinkle. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the rageful episode after last weekend, so
Yeah,
the rather bitter and salty one. But of course, it's also the well recorded or recorded well in advance edition. So if any stories have changed since we recorded on Wednesday, we apologize. But this was the only day to tape that was just best for all of us and allowed me to have my 4 days that I needed off. So, but with that, coming up on the show, we're going to talk. We got an update on the Belichick story, so we're going to talk about that. We've got worst take of the week. We got the World Series team set, and we'll make our Week 8 picks. But we begin, of course, I'm going to let Jason take over from here with his takeaways.
yeah. This game was just terrible right from the get-go. Buffalo has been having troubles trying to start hot in the first half, and I don't understand why. Um, it just you get the ball first. Actually, no. Well, you don't get the ball first, but first possession of their drive, Josh Allen over forces the ball to Dawson Knox and gets it picked off. So already, you get 3-0 for New England, and they get the ball back, make it 10-0. It's like, oh, here we go. This is the New England Page. This is the Giants and the Jags all over again. Buffalo has not been able to get the hot starts as of late. The last 3 weeks, they're on a short week this week. Of course, we're recording on a Wednesday. The game would have already happened by this upload, so we do not exactly know what's going to happen in this game against the Bucks quite yet. But it didn't look pretty right from the get-go. Mac Jones looked good. The Buffalo didn't get going until the fourth quarter yet again. So um, Buffalo was able to score, get the fast score from Stephon Diggs, which I tell you what, he's Houdini out there. I've seen it once already and against the Miami Dolphins, saw it again against the Patriots. Um, but yeah, so threw a nice little dinger to Stephon Diggs. Was untouched, went to the turf, got back up, and ran into the end zone. So, and then was able to get the fumble recovery, score again, get up by, I think, was this by 3 at this point, because it was, 23-22, got the 2-point conversion, was up by 3. Then New England just marches down the field like it's, like they're the Miami Dolphins. And Buffalo's defense, I know they've been having a lot of injuries, but you got to have a lot of the next man up mentality, and I just don't know if I've really been seeing it. They're going to get some key pieces back, which is going to be nice. They're going to get possibly Ed Oliver back, possibly Jordan Phillips back. So getting guys like that to be able to beef up that line and get after Baker Mayfield is probably going to be good. But I if I am a Bills fan, you're 4-3. You're close to being at 500, which is not something like Buffalo at all. They don't really go to 500. Sometimes they'll be like already at like, I don't know, 7-2 or something like that, or 7-1 or something like that. This is a very uncharacteristic, of Buffalo to be at 4-3, to lose to the teams that they did. I mean, I get it, the Jets are the Jets, and they have a tough defense. But that game against the Jags, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But to lose to the New England Patriots on the road, that is a tough one. And I get it. It's a division rival games are always going to be tough. You can't take teams lightly, and I think Buffalo has gone into these games thinking that they got them before they go into them. Buffalo, going forward, has to not take their teams lightly, even if they are a one-win team. the Tampa Bay Bucks, yeah, they haven't been exactly the greatest right now. They're 3-3 right now. You can't take that team lightly. You can't go into that game thinking that you can beat that team easily. You gotta, give a lot of these teams respect. So I'm hoping that Buffalo can get out to be able to beat the Bucks. I would say that you got to get out hot. You got to keep on scoring. You got to get pressure on Baker Mayfield to cause mistakes. And I just would like to see more involvement of a lot of the other receivers, like Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis needs to get more involved in that offense. They shouldn't always have to rely on Stephon Diggs to bail them out all the time. Gabe Davis has not been utilized like a wide receiver too, and that comes on. Does Ken Dorsey, have his offense around, revolving around Stephon Diggs and his skill set? I got some, weirdness, but I think a way to make this offense flow is use more of your second half game plan for the whole entire game, because it shouldn't have to take until the second half to start playing better, start getting points, generating a team. You should be having that kind of game plan from the first half to the second half. Use that game plan that you have in the second half coming out and scoring points like that. That should be what is happening the first half or the whole entire game. So whatever you're using for the first half in these games is clearly not working. You should take it out of your playbook immediately and start using the playbook that you're using in the second half.
Again, you should start with plan B instead of plan A, I guess, is what you're getting at. But again, It's different teams, different strategies, different sets. Like, you can't just, go in and be like, oh, go with plan 2 all the time, because sometimes plan 2 you'll get burned. Now, for 4-3, they should be 3-4, but again, we won't argue that too much. But this is a team, I'm telling you, man, they are getting the luck of the draw, though, because, again, the Giants game, I mean, in terms of the division race, they're getting the luck of the draw. They're getting such a lucky break, because this is a team could be down 2 games right now, and had the penalties gone a different way in the Eagles and Dolphins game, and had the Dolphins actually played well, I'm just saying we'd be seeing a 3-game division lead. I'd say game, set, match at that point in the season.
And I know that Miami has had the advantage over New England, but Miami has to go into that game thinking that they're not going to get that game easily either, because New England could use the same strategy that they used against Buffalo against them.
See,
just saying, could bring pressure to Tua, blitz them a lot of times, but I know that could burn them in the end. But
stay on track.
They don't do the same thing. But again, I will say that New England, they shocked me. They came out. Playing like they haven't played at all year long.
But let's be clear, and you and I talked, and I've been seeing the Fire Ken Dorsey tweets out there. I've been seeing the Fire Ken Dorsey posts. No one's gonna vouch to fire McDermott, but here's the thing. Every time the fans have spoken about scapegoating someone, bench Tyrod, start Nate Peterman, he's ready to go. No, you know what happened there? I'm saying, you start saying, I'll fire Ken Dorsey, you're going to get this guy fired, and the chances are the next guy in line is not going to be the guy that you want. So what I'm saying is, and we talked about this at length, I think, after the game, you have a coordinator, or you have a head coach that's filling a coordinator role, okay? So he's doing not just the top role, but he's doing the step below it too. So, in a way, you're not delegating. Now, Kyle Shanahan started his coaching career, his head coaching career, being both the offensive coordinator and the head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. You notice they don't have Super Bowl appearances in his early stint. Okay? That's because, to me, and I don't know, because we're not in the league office. We're not on the sidelines. We don't know what happens, behind closed doors, or, when the cameras aren't looking. But when you have a head coach, and this is my view, is when you have a head coach that's filling a coordinator vacancy, that is going to take up a lot more time than it would if you just hired a defensive coordinator or promoted within to that role. So now Ken Dorsey, who's a rather young, still kind of getting his feet wet offensive coordinator, now he's got to learn. He's basically got a co-coach with McDermott, and the offense is basically his with little or no involvement from the head coach.
And I hate to have to change. I agree. I mean, but again, this defense, has been riding high up until the point of Jacksonville.
But is having the defense...
Unfortunately, the defense can only hold up so long if the offense isn't producing points. So after everything is said and done, you got to look into that offense of what it could, what could be fixed, what cannot be fixed. Because I don't think the defense is the issue. Yeah, they gave up 29 points to New England. I get that. They gave up a good amount of points to Jacksonville. I get that. But again, even in that Jacksonville game, even though they lost, that defense still kept them into that game the majority of the game.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Giants. This game, the defense didn't really come to play because also, they may have had some injuries and had to play a lot. They've been playing with a lot of second stringers most of the season because you lose Tre'Davious White, you lose Matt Milano, you lose Daquan Jones. Von Miller is coming back, not exactly fully healthy either. It sucks. And I will say, the thing is, the secondary has not come up huge for the defense. So I will say maybe it could be on McDermott not coaching up his secondary very well because they got to show up.
Well, to me, it's not about...
Poyer and Hyde need to start stepping up and showing out. Because I don't think they have one single interception at all this year. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Hyde does. I don't know if Poyer does, but again, it's been ugly. But as far as the offense goes, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. But again, and going back to the initial point here of, the defense is looking great. Does that really matter in the grand scheme of things when you're 4-3? No, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if you have a top 5 defense and you're barely hanging on to a wild card. Okay,
see, that
doesn't matter. Okay,
the last 3 weeks you got to look at that offense. If the offense is not producing points and not doing good, then something has to give.
When the defense
and
isn't
that's why
doing
I really think that this team has to reevaluate as an offense because lately they have not been playing well. And then a lot of it could be like, well, is a Madden curse finally starting to set in? Is it finally come back? Well, to me, it looks like it because Josh Allen has not been playing like Josh Allen this year. I hate to say it.
2006 to 2012 Chargers. That's my ultimate takeaway in this whole thing. But going back to the defense again, when you're 4-3, you could be 2-15 at the end of the year. That's not obviously going to happen, but you could be 2-15 at the end of the year. You're going to take the consolation. Man, we had the first-ranked offense, but we had first-ranked defense, but we had the 32nd rated offense. Who gives a shit at that point about the rankings? The record speaks more than the ratings.
That's why I can get what they're getting at with Ken Dorsey, because if Ken Dorsey is playing calling, I will say, this year, you have not really seen Josh Allen used as a runner. I think they're really forcing him to be more of a passer. And unfortunately, a lot of those design runs is what kept Buffalo alive and made drives last longer is because he was able to run. I haven't been seeing that a lot of Josh Allen. If Josh Allen was able to use more of his legs, and that's what he's good at. Getting out of the pocket and being able to, extend drives. I get it that, it could, there could be a risk of injury and stuff like that. But I think I need to see a little bit more of Josh Allen being Josh Allen, because this year I have not seen him. If you want to start using some more design runs, kind of like what Brian Dable did with Josh Allen, that would be perfect, because I get it, you want to use him more as a quarterback, but In the day and age of quarterbacks nowadays and these younger ones, it's better to have a guy that's going to be a combo guy that can run, that can pass, that can do about everything and win games, because having it the other way is not resulting in them winning. It's resulting in more losses than it is in wins. But again, I digress. I'm going to...
And I'll be doom and gloom before you flip takeaways here. 20 again, I'm going to reiterate, 2006 to 2012 LA Chargers or San Diego Chargers, whatever you want to call them from historical reference. Okay. Great team, winning their division. No one was within reach, and even if they were, they weren't a serious contender. The difference is the Dolphins there's one team in their division that is going to make a deep run in the playoffs, and it's not going to be the Buffalo Bills. I'm marking it right now. This is quite frankly,
I don't even trust. Unfortunately, I do not trust even the Miami Dolphins, because they lost to the Bills and they've lost to the Eagles. I know,
they've beaten some good teams along the way too. So
not really. No, they have not. They've beaten one or two teams.
Okay. Well, here's the thing: of the two teams in that division, the Dolphins are going further than the Bills. You heard it here first. It's going to happen, and. I'm sorry, Bills are a one and done. That's my prediction. Team and
get knocked out the first round. I don't believe it. Sorry.
What?
But I said if they can get past the first round, fine. Yeah. But they haven't as of late. Even back in 2008 when they won the division, they lost first round to the Ravens. That just tells you something. That just tells you that this team, even last year, they barely lost to the Bills, but they lost to the Bills.
Yeah.
So again, if they can get past the first round, I'll believe it. But if they cannot, like they have been the last few times that they've been there, no.
There's a lot of naysayers about the Bills in the same fashion, though. Let's be fair on that.
True.
Saying that if you guys could get to the championship, we'll talk. But But I think, again, this is going to be an off season for the Bills that's going to be some drastic changes and changes fans aren't going to like. So buckle up because of that cap. So
the next few games that they have, they had the Bucks this week, Thursday night. They get a little extra time, but this Bengals game is going to be rough. Broncos Monday night. Now that's a game that they have to not think that they can win that easily. Just thinking.
If they drop that one, they don't even deserve to be in the wild card discussion.
No, not at all.
Look at the Packers.
Right, so I'm going to get to my next takeaway. I'm going to shift gears as NBA season has officially already started, and Giannis actually got in a contract extension. I think he's on his last year with his current deal, but he signed a 3-year, $186 million contract extension with the Bucks on Monday. I think it's a good thing, but again, I think you should have waited, because had he waited, he would have signed a 4-year, $233 million extension. And I know he's not, caring about the money and just wanted to get the deal done, but there's also been many talks that he, very many rumors that he could have, eventually have gone away from the Bucks to try to, but I think now that he signed this contract extension, I think that it's safe to say that he's going to stick with the Bucks a little bit longer than, maybe he would have thought. But, they also won a ring just recently, so I think that bringing in Damian Lillard might actually help them get into the finals this year. We'll see. But congratulations to Giannis. He's a good player. He's a great freak for a reason.
And you put down that he could have made way more money next year. I'm applauding the fact that he's a team player and saying, I'm not going to sign a 1-year deal just to get a bigger paycheck next year. I want to be here. It's clear he wants to be there. And I'm glad for that, because you know what? We don't see that in today's NBA. We don't see it in today's football. And we especially don't see it really in any modern sports now. So I applaud Giannis's loyalty. He did take a big chunk out of the salary cap, but
of course. And it won't start until next year anyway. So I mean, the Bucks. But the thing is, the difference about NBA then compared to NFL is that the cap space is a hell of a lot higher, and you can like have like multiple players at like $40 million contracts. I know it's insane, but hey, it happens. So again, they could be a favorite, but we'll see. I mean, every time they've been a heavy favorite, they haven't gotten anywhere close to the final. So who knows?
I mean,
so as that goes, I am going to send it to Brian before I talk everybody's ear off some more.
I do want to go off the Giannis thing. The East is tightening up. I mean, the Heat are still... The Heat and the Celtics are still, frankly, the teams to beat. And this is coming from a guy who doesn't watch the NBA. But I think the Bucks can close that gap. I think, now that contract is settled, there's going to be a little more confidence on Giannis's part. There's going to be even more confidence on the team's part. Maybe this is the thing that sets them above, or gets them above that hump. Gets them back to the finals and into the picture. Or to glory once again. So,
exactly.
Just figure I point that part out. I want to talk about the Chargers, and as harsh as I was on you about your Bills, I think I'm going to be a lot harsher about the Chargers. This is a game that they needed bad. Like, a divisional game nonetheless. They needed bad. And once again, all these pieces on defense, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, all these guys that are supposed to supposedly put Mahomes at a humble level of, mediocrity or mid, stats.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the defense underperforms. The offense looked like shit, frankly, in the second half.
Right.
And again, the Chiefs' defense, while they've gotten better this year, I think, look at this. No, the front four is the only thing the Chiefs have. They don't have a secondary. Okay? Why do you think Spagnuolo blitzes every single chance he gets? But,
Yeah, but not as much as the Vikings do, though. The Vikings have Brian Flores, and they blitz like over 50% of
they're competing against each other. That's what's going on. They're low-key competing to see who has the best blitz. But, and you let Mahomes get 400 yards. Another thing with this secondary, that should be unacceptable.
Yeah, and mind you, he had over 300 yards in the first half.
Yeah, 300 yards in the first half. Unacceptable. Okay, you have Asante Samuel in the secondary. You have Davis. You have Derwin James.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you have that front four. You should be allowing half of those yards to Patrick Mahomes. But again, coaching underwhelms, and I mean severely underwhelms. The offense, Justin Herbert looked mid. He looked mid. Another reason,
I will say, the Chargers really do got to find a way to try to get Keenan Allen more involved, because I think Palmer was the top receiver that whole entire game.
Well, Palmer, I think, personally, he looked good. I think, he proved... I think
he's really stepped up in the Mike Williams role while he's been hurt, honestly.
And Jason, I've been very shaky about him. I just don't know that he's the quality receiver we need. But he proved it. Gerald Everett proved he needs to be dealt. We should have gone and gotten Dalton Kincaid. This dude is a bum. He either gets hurt late in the game when we need him, or he, walks back to the sideline gingerly. I'm so tired. I can't do this anymore.
I will say,
walking on his fucking routes,
As far as Kincaid, I think that maybe he would have excelled a little bit more in LA, but it is what it is. I don't know.
I just appreciate the nasally, whiny voice, by the way. I just put up.
As far as sounding the alarm, yeah, I would say so.
Now it's an alarm.
You gotta.
Frankly, and also add in now, there are reports that Brandon Staley's lost the locker room. Even more reason to sound the alarm. It sounds like he is officially losing the locker room as we speak. So, and now I've read rumors, and again, I've told you guys on the show multiple times, I will never believe this one until it actually happens, is Jim Harbaugh is rumored. Jim Harbaugh is rumored to be interested in the next Chargers coaching vacancy. And here's where I'm going to get right up to the mic and say, Dean Spanos, do not fuck this up. If he wants the job, give it to him.
Well, the problem is that you want him after everything that Michigan has done as of late. That's the real thing.
Let me put it this way. I don't know if the rumors are true. I don't care that he stole signs. All I care about is that he's a coach who doesn't take shit from anybody. He's a coach that has built a winning program in Michigan. Whether they've won titles or not, they've been in the hunt for the last few years, which is a lot better than a lot of other teams can say about themselves. What he did in San Fran, frankly, he should have been allowed to stay. He got ghosted. Like, he got just kind of sold out by his team out of there. So I will never, criticize his coaching. You know what? Sometimes you need a hard ass to coach you. So, if it's not him, I hope it's Brian Flores, frankly, because we need somebody who's a hard ass, who's going to put these people on the staff, that's going to help Justin Herbert, that's going to help this defense that we spend so much money on.
Defensive-minded head coaches just don't do as well in the NFL as like offensive-minded head coaches, and it kind of shows, as weird as it seems. I don't know why that's the case, but
well, I want to be fair here in that Brian Flores, frankly, I mean, not even 2 years ago we were talking this guy should have kept his job.
Right, true.
Okay? He's proven, to me that he can be a head coach. He can take I don't know if he can take his team on a deep playoff run, but we'll never know now because of what happened in Miami.
True.
We'll never know if he could have taken Tua all the way. We'll just, again, it's always going to be the great unknown. It's going to be something I think that fans in Miami are always going to be like, if the Dolphins get stuck in that mid, not getting past the divisional round like the Bills situation, it's always going to be, well, why didn't we keep Brian Flores? He would have taken us further. It's always going to be that what if, is what I'm getting at. And if any Dolphins fan says otherwise, I'll see you in 3 years, 4 years. I'm trying to find documents on my phone, so so I'll go on to the second takeaway. Astro and Phillies. So we got the World Series set. It is the Diamondbacks versus the Rangers. Two teams that not even 2 years ago had almost 100 losses in the league.
Crazy.
Okay, so you want to talk turnaround? I mean, and also new faces, new blood. I mean, I hope the ratings reflect how good I feel this is going to be, because I think people are getting sick of the Dodgers and the Astros being there, or the Astros being there every single year. But well, I mean, the Phillies really didn't come on until last year, so I don't count them. I'm saying, like, it's either been the Dodgers and or the Astros the last handful of years. It's shown. It's a stat as well. But man, I
was gonna say, it does feel nice to have two fresh teams that haven't been in it in a while. Like, I think the Rangers kind of have been more so there recently than Diamondbacks have, but it is nice to see both.
Diamondbacks first time since 2001.
That's crazy.
So
And then the Rangers
Rangers, I
probably, I want
believe,
to say more recently.
I want to say 2011 or 2012, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly.
probably.
And that was the Josh Hamilton days, because I remember that. And man, I'm telling you, you love or hate Josh Hamilton, but that man deserved a World Series in one of the years that he went. Because I know they went 2 straight years and lost 2 straight years. But
I
he,
was gonna say both of these teams can definitely,
yeah,
prove that they deserve one, but I'm
you know,
thinking part of me it might be going with the Rangers there. Honestly, I've, I mean, I'm not a big like MLB fan, but I've kind of always levitated towards the Rangers for whatever reason. I don't know why.
now I just want to see who has home field. Because again, home field is not determined by the best record in baseball. It's determined by who wins the All-Star game. And the Rangers start at home. I'm going to say Diamondbacks in 6. Because the Rangers, I believe, are the team that has won every single game that they played on the road. So, the Rangers haven't lost on the road in the postseason. I think they're going to drop one. I think they'll win a game at home, but again, I'm going to say 6 games. I think that's the safe bet for the Diamondbacks to win the World Series and create probably the biggest comeback in the history of our. By the way, the Diamondbacks were the last team in. So, another thing that's pretty big. I mean, we don't see that very often is the last seed getting into the playoffs and into the World Series.
Oh wow,
So,
really?
yeah.
Diamondbacks literally,
So, I like that
went
underdog
out against
mentality.
them. Right.
But going off of the Astros lost, Dusty Baker has announced his retirement. Dusty Baker, the manager of the Astros. So the Astros will be looking for a new manager this offseason. I know the last few weeks I've teased that, man, I think the Astros are a dynasty, whether people see it that way or not. Is this the end? I'd.
I would think so. Depends on who they get as their manager, but I would think so.
I think as long as they keep Altuve, I don't think Verlander's got many more years left. But I think if they keep Altuve, as much as people hate him, if they can keep him, if they can kind of keep their core there, Dallas Keuchel, I believe, is one of them. I think if they can keep their core players, I think they could still make runs. I think they'll still be in the discussion.
hmm
I'm not that worried about it because Dusty Baker wasn't the manager of that 2017 cheating team. So it proves that it's the core there that's making them work. The manager's just kind of, elevating them to that next step. So I feel like, just the core alone is what keeps them in it. Um, so, but I'll leave it at that. I think, again, I don't think the Astros are done by any stretch. And we'll see what happens next year, and we'll see what happens as we go to the World Series. As I'm pretty sure it's already started since we've recorded. But media's worst take of the week I want to talk about here. Chris Mad Dog Russo, he has a show on Sirius XM. He also joins Stephen A couple times a week, one of the rotating cast members there. But Chris Mad Dog Russo, when the Phillies were up 3-2, he goes on his Sirius XM show and says, if they win the next 2 games and advance to the World Series, I will retire. I don't think there's a shot in hell they're going to win. And I'm paraphrasing with the last part about, a shot in hell. But, boy, talk about cold takes. Russo, Mad Dog,
You might need to
enjoy
retire.
retirement, buddy. I know today he was operating a camera for First Take, and Stephen A told him, when I say Diamondback, you shut your mouth. So, So, frankly, if we didn't have a better Tinkle on this could very well be Tinkle on this as well. So I'm also going to put that in the honorable mention for Tinkle
There
on
you go.
this week. Um, so Mad Dog, don't be writing people off anymore.
A lot of analysts do that, and I don't understand why. But
Yeah.
again, they can be right, they can be wrong.
Sometimes
Usually,
they
how they
just do
go.
it for the clicks. We're not like that
Well,
here. I mean, I'm going to tell you everything I said in the first half of the show. I'm very candid. I'm very honest in my opinions. And, I'm going to tell it to me like it is. I'm not going to say, hey, it's sunshine and rainbows right now for,
right.
our teams, but that's where we stand. Sorry, guys.
As I was going to
Sucks
say,
having a cold, So I had to
we're
mute
going
my
to the
mic for a second. But we're going to talk Bill Belichick because this was a story that came out um, literally hours after our show premiered on Sunday.
Mhm.
Ian Rappaport reported, again, so the Patriots keep a lot of things in secret, but Bill Belichick has been announced. It was announced he signed a long-term contract extension with the New England Patriots in the offseason last year. So it would appear that any rumor of Bill Belichick getting canned or Robert Kraft being upset with him, not true.
Yeah, that's why I hate reading up against reading articles because you never know what's true and what's not anymore. To be honest with you,
Well,
I guess it makes
Twitter,
sense.
doesn't make it any
But
easier,
when
but
is
still.
that man just going to freaking retire? That's what I want to know. Even though you're 2 wins, you're still not that good. I hate to say it. As much as I would love to see them beat the Miami Dolphins, it's not going to happen, especially on the road.
No, I mean, they should have two more wins than what they have, but and again, that's going
Yeah,
back to week
probably.
1 and 2. But I just don't know how much you can blame it on them. That's just unfortunately, I mean, by mere inches, the execution didn't work out. So I don't feel you can hold that against Belichick. Now,
Yeah.
I've said for the last 2 weeks that I think if he's going to leave the team, I think it's going to be a mutual decision. Because it's clear that Robert Kraft is okay with the Patriot way right now. But
So I can very well see after this extension is done and over with, he does go to be like a GM because I think he
well, he
already
is the
is.
GM.
He already is a GM, so I think he could just be more of a president of football
Yep.
operations or a GM or
Kind of a
still
Tom
remaining a
Coughlin.
GM. Yeah,
So
and then possibly if like Bill O'Brien remains, I could probably see him taking over as being a head coach and maybe running the offense, unless getting somebody to run his offense. I mean, but
now we go back to the Josh McDaniels and Colt Steele real
hmm
quick. Let's go back to that because I think this tells the story of why Belichick isn't on any hot seat. Because keep in mind, New England really pushed Josh McDaniels to back out of the Colt Steele. And they offered him as much money, if not more, than what Indy was going to offer him. So it's clear that I feel like, as much as New England doesn't talk financials or longevity of contracts, it's
right.
very clear, actions speak louder than words. And the action here is that it's clear that Josh McDaniels was their succession plan at head coach.
Definitely.
It's as clear as day.
But you definitely know that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft got together and like Robert, and then eventually Robert Kraft kind of pushed Josh McDaniels
Yeah.
out, and
I
then he
don't know
took the
about that.
Raiders job. So I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't know.
I feel like that if he was still on the team and
I feel
the
like
Patriots were doing that, there would be a lot more pressure on Belichick, I feel like.
it's like a Mike Hopkins and a Jim Boeheim situation. Because Mike Hopkins was supposed to succeed Jim Boeheim as the head coach at Syracuse University in 2017. 2017, he decided, I don't want to retire, I want to stay. And Mike Hopkins ultimately ended up going to Washington. Now, for years, he had fielded interviews to be a head coach elsewhere, and finally he jumped at the Washington opportunity. I feel like this is another case of Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick. Maybe they said, hey, 2020 or 2021, you're gonna, or I'm sorry, his contract was supposed to end at the end of this year, I believe. That's why the extension was talked about.
Yeah.
So let's just say it ended this year, and they were saying, Belichick, you're going to retire at the end of your contract. You're going to retire from the sidelines. You're going to go into the office, and Josh McDaniels going to take the head coaching role. I think Belichick at that point was like, I'm not ready to retire just yet. I think there's unfinished business now that Brady's gone. So
Right.
I feel like there was that. And Josh McDaniel said, screw it. I'm not here to be, waiting in the wings forever. I gave up my chance to stay, and I'm not doing it again. So now they're in this succession plan, and a terrible one at that, if they choose to go that route, that it could be Matt Patricia or it could be Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien, well respected, not exactly what I would consider to be an NFL head coach anymore. Not exactly a guy I'd consider. But the clear thing, going back to it, much like Jerry Jones, and I feel like Robert Kraft is in his Jerry Jones era right now, in that he's going to say what works, and he's adamant, I am keeping the Patriot way. It is not going to change. We are not going to get new blood in here to change it up.
Right.
And you're seeing the results of it in the standings. That they're 1-6 or 2-5, one of those. So, stubbornness will get the best of you. Not adapting to the changing of times will get to you. Andy Reid is so successful at his age, and he's one of the older coaches in the NFL. Him and Pete Carroll are so successful because they adapt to the changing of the game, They adapt to all that. They adapt how they coach their players. They adapt how, they train them. They adapt the playbooks. Bill Belichick, I feel like doesn't have room for adaptation. Robert Kraft is saying, you know what? It's worked for 20-something years. Why change it? If it's not broke, why fix it? Well, it's broke now. It's like that roof that you put on 20 years ago, and it takes all that wear and tear, and now you got leaks. Right now, what the Patriots have is a leak. And if they don't fix it, and if they don't get out of the Patriot way, that's going to turn into an all-out cave-in.
Right.
So, but I'll leave my point there. I've rattled on for a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah. Trade deadline could be coming up it's going to be coming up very soon. And two men that could be dealt this offseason are DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook. Yeah, they sound familiar. Well, guess what? They're also guys that had offseason holdouts. But unfortunately, I think it did kind of hurt their stock more than their teams. But unfortunately, the teams that they're on, they're not really getting the best opportunity at. You would think that maybe DeAndre Hopkins more so with the Titans than with Dalvin Cook with the Jets. I mean, Breece Hall is clear as day the number one back.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook getting dealt kind of makes sense because they really don't need him. They already have their running back. I think they just kind of got Dalvin Cook so they can take him away from New England at this point. I feel like I have a strong feeling, or took him away
Defensive
from.
signing. All right.
Yeah.
See, it could also be just keep him from the Dolphins because the Dolphins were in the running too.
Right.
I'm not shocked. Brees Hall's on that roster, like you said. He's just so good. Hopkins, he's on a Tennessee team that's, they're there, but they're not.
Yeah, they're very hit and miss.
Like, they're not like what you'd consider the team that, could play spoiler to make a Super Bowl like they were, in the late 2010s and early 2020, the last couple of years.
This is also a DeAndre Hopkins that was very tied to Buffalo way before, signing with the Titans, and it seemed like it was going to be a done deal. But again, Hopkins going to Tennessee, when it happened, it was like, Tennessee? Did they really need DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, they have Derrick Henry and whatnot, so that kind of scratched my head a little bit. It's like, you're not going to really get the ball that much, right?
I feel like this was their great experiment of, obviously they drafted Malik Willis. They drafted Sam Levi, or
Will Levis.
Will Levis. Sorry, I can't get names right today for some reason. But
Sorry.
But I feel like this was their great experiment of, is it Ryan Tannehill that's our issue, or is it our receiving core? And I think you're starting to see it's a balance of both. So maybe that's what they're like, all right, we figured it out. We're not really in the running. Let's, see what we can get.
I think there's definitely some contenders that would be willing to bring him in, honestly.
Oh, of course. I think there's...
Same thing with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, unfortunately, I think his stock has gone down even joining the team. Even beforehand, his stock is definitely low. And unfortunately, I think he might get traded for, like, a bag of chips at this point. And I hate to say it.
And the biggest thing, I wonder, going back to Hopkins... I'm willing to put this out here as kind of a wild card. A wild deal. What if the Vikings go for him?
I feel like it might have to be beneficial because,
they have
Jefferson is hurt.
But they have
need
Addison.
Another top receiver. But the problem is that Addison came in clutch against the 49ers. And so did a lot of other guys. So I don't know. Yeah. I think if they develop Addison some more, I think that they'll be fine without getting a guy like DeAndre Hopkins.
Addison and Osborne, they're good 2 and 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When Justin Jefferson's healthy. But do they say, hey, you know what? Let's add another receiver. Let's make a push right now because we're 3 and 4. We're right there. Let's let's get something good out of this.
How about we throw this out there? What if they bring back Dalvin Cook, just for shits and giggles? What if they bring back the running back?
They do need help with their run game, but I don't think Dalvin Cook will even sign off on that.
DeAndre Hopkins could make sense, especially with both of them on the outside, and then you have Addison and Osborne as your complementary receivers. That I could see. And if that was to happen, and say if DeAndre Hopkins comes up to speed and excels in an offense, I think that they could make a push to. They would have to do something now because Detroit is leading that division. I'm not saying that Minnesota is technically out of the race yet, but unfortunately, Detroit has a very 2-game lead over over them. So maybe
here's the one thing though that makes me say, just thinking about it, that may make me say I don't think they're gonna pull the trigger on this, and it's because look at what Osborne and Addison did, and look at the momentum that they're getting going the last few weeks here. Are they really going to want to add another element to it? That, you know,
And that's all up.
do they want to gamble? Because again, they're 2 games back right now of Detroit. Do you really want to gamble, or do you think you have what it takes right now to go get Detroit? Or do you think it's a lost cause? Because keep in mind, 2 weeks ago, we were talking the Vikings a lost cause.
No, I can't say that they're a lost cause because, I mean...
But I mean,
They
2
went
weeks
on
ago.
Monday night, and you already know that Kirk Cousins doesn't exactly play the best on Monday nights. They went out there, and he put up over 300 yards against a San Fran defense that's usually no joke. But the last few weeks, they've kind of looked mid.
Again, 2 weeks ago. That's what I was saying about lost cause, those. 2 weeks ago, they were a lost cause. I think a lot of people wrote them off. They said Vikings are in it, they're in tanking mode now. And now they're almost 500. So, much like Cincinnati, they're off to a slow start, but they're starting to gain momentum. The chemistry's getting better. Everything's slowly getting better. That's why I wonder, do they just decide, we're not pulling the trigger on Hopkins. We have a good roster. We have people we can give away. But do we want to sacrifice the momentum we just gained, bringing in a totally different element to this roster that could be a boom or bust?
It would have been interesting if he would have gone to like a team like Philadelphia, but since they just signed Julio Jones, I don't see that happening. I guess I could throw this out there. What if he goes to a team that we're not even expecting just because they need a receiver desperately? Like, I don't know. I don't think I could see it happening, but like, say like a team like, I don't know, Carolina or something like that. I know that they're
reading my mind with that, because I was just about to say Carolina could be on his mind, James Taylor reference, but yeah. But it's possible. I think anything's possible. The other thing is, it could be a snub, and we could just be reading into rumors again.
Yeah, that's very true.
But with
very
that,
true.
I think it's time to go right to the picks. Let me just go to the website real quick. Sorry, I'm way off today. Week 8. Here we go. So we are at Thursday night, but let's talk the Rams and the wait a second, wrong page. Yeah, Rams and Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 6.5.
I might go with the Rams on the road, honestly.
I feel like the Rams are a team that's just there, but again, it's hot and cold. But I gotta go Dallas. I think Dallas is running hot right now. The last 2 weeks after that fuck the Cowboys shirt. So I think it's a motivator. I think they'll win. Vikings and Packers even.
I don't know if I like that. I'm gonna go with the Vikings here.
Vikings are hot. It's tough to go against them. I'm going Vikings as well. Titans and Falcons. Atlanta favored by 2.5.
See, Atlanta's such a weird team. I mean, they're leading that division right now, too. So, I don't know. This one is... I might go with the Atlanta here, honestly.
I predict one thing for certain. Bijan Robinson fantasy owners are probably going to throw their remotes at the TV this week. But yes, I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think they're heating
Well,
up.
apparently the reason why he didn't get many touches is because he wasn't feeling well. So I think that this time he's going to be feeling well. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to help that Falcons team
And if not,
beat up on the Titans.
and you're driving through downtown Atlanta, I think you're going to hear the faint sound of televisions getting smashed. So,
Yeah, I can see.
Saints and Colts. Saints favored by 1.
I mean, the Colts looked pretty good last week against the Browns, so I might go with the Colts here, even though they got New Orleans as a 1-point favorite.
New Orleans has been kind of cold lately. I think I'm going to stick with that trend, and I'm going to say Indianapolis is going to win this one. Patriots.
I picked Indy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Patriots and Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 9.
I don't know if I like that because Buffalo was heavily favored. You saw how well that went. Yeah, Miami is undefeated at home, and it's going to be a very hot evening. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than I think.
Yeah, I agree. Closer. But like you said, the elements just play in the Dolphins' favor to begin with, and I feel like New England's just never really good in Miami to begin with. So
yeah,
historically speaking, the battle for the Meadowlands this week: the Jets and the Giants. Jets favored by 3.
I just think this is going to be a interesting game. I don't even know who's going to be starting. I would assume it's going to be Tyrod again.
Probably, and it would be smart.
Tyrod gives them their best opportunity to win. But if it's Daniel Jones, then I might go with the Giants here. Yeah, as the home team. Even though I know both of them share the same stadium, so it's not really an away or a home game for either.
I'm going to go with the team that plays in that stadium. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go with the Jets. I've seen some steady improvement in Zach Wilson. All MILF jokes aside, he's slowly progressed this year. I think he's looking better. I think he's keeping them not necessarily in the hunt, but he's definitely not slouching while Rodgers is out. So I'm going to go with the Jets here.
I was going to say, this game I'd rather have seen being the 1 o'clock, but I definitely know it's going to be Dolphins and Patriots over Jags and Steelers. But if there's any game that I would love to be the 1 o'clock CBS game, I think it's this one, because I think this one's going to be a lot better of a game than Dolphins and Patriots. But I'm going to go with Jags here.
Yeah,
but
Jags are hot.
Pittsburgh has been surprising the hell out of me this year. I'm not going to lie.
They've
been looking a lot better. They've been playing a lot better. Pickett hasn't exactly been the greatest, but they've been winning some games that I didn't think that they were going to, honestly. So
now that's a team that can be led by their defense. But you notice, again, Mike Tomlin is not their defensive coordinator, going back to earlier. But I'm going to go with the Jags. Eagles and Commanders. You know what I want to say, but I'm going to just say Philly 6.5 right now.
I'm going to say Philadelphia, but something tells me that Commanders might just pull it off because it is a divisional game, 1 and 2. I mean, Commanders, we've talked about it before. They can be kind of sneaky. Yes, they did lose barely to the Giants, but they did lose. They should have won that game, by the way. I feel like they should have beat the Giants, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
They were... See this, fans? This is how close the Commanders were to tying that game. That close.
Yep. But I'm gonna go Eagles as well. But man, like I said, Commanders are just so sneaky. Texans and Panthers, the battle of the top 2 quarterbacks taken in the draft. And Houston's favored by 3.
Yeah, I got to go with Houston here. Hate to say it, Carolina fans, but you're probably going to get the number 1 pick yet again.
Carolina's going to be in that pit of misery for a long time. Texans. Browns and Seahawks.
This could be a game to
Seahawks
see.
favored by 3.5, by the way.
This might be a game to watch right here. Cleveland and Seattle. These two teams, I mean, this could be a good game. Both defenses are pretty good, so I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, to be truthfully honest with you. But I think the Browns are just going to edge out the Seahawks on the road.
I feel like the Browns are just getting a lot of close games, and that's why I got to go with them as well. This next one, I think we're just both going to take the Chiefs, right?
Yeah,
All right.
just go with the Chiefs.
Let's move
Even
it
though the
along.
Broncos have kind of, as of late, have kind of getting a little closer
Against
as
who?
of late, but
Against
the
who?
Chiefs.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
against who have the Broncos heated up against? Like, who have they beaten?
Oh, nobody.
So, yeah, I think that answers our question then. Another question I think that just goes without answering, Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens.
Lamar's entering himself in the MVP discussion again.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is.
This one, actually, you said the Browns and the Seahawks. I think this could be low-key the game of the week. Bengals and 49ers. It could also be the Super Bowl matchup. But San Fran favored by 3.5.
Brock Purdy might not be playing in this game.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold could be in line to start this week because Brock Purdy's in concussion protocol, which I didn't
They still
realize.
got McCaffrey.
True. I'm going to go with the Bengals here. I just think that they're going to somehow get it, but 49ers, they need a bounce back win. I just don't know if they're going to get it here against the Bengals. I hate to say it.
I feel like the Bengals have heated up the last few weeks, so I want to go Bengals, just because Brock Purdy's still playing hurt. But I'm not going to discredit the Niners here. I think they're still I still think they're going to be in the NFC Championship. Sunday Night Football: Bears and Chargers. Chargers favored by 8.5.
Buddy, as much as I really want to go with your team, I might have to go with the Bears here. I hate to say it.
We're being very overly generous to my team, but with the spread, obviously, I'm gonna go with the Chargers, but it's gonna be another. You're gonna have to battle with Eberflus to determine who's the dumber coach, and I feel like Brandon Staley's just barely gonna prove that he's smarter. Maybe he's gonna swallow his smart pills before the game. Raiders and Lions. Are we gonna pick this one, or are we just both gonna say Lions?
I think the Lions are going to get a bounce back win after that disappointing loss in the hands to the Ravens there. So I think they're going to bounce back at home against the Raiders. So yeah.
Oh man, my phone went a little too far ahead. All right, week 9. So Titans and Steelers on Thursday night. Steelers favored by 4.
I'm going to say Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers. I like that they're heating up too. So, but that's our pick. So, Tinkle on this time. And again, I'm sorry I'm so unorganized. You could tell I'm ready for vacation, just burned out. So a Baltimore Ravens fan goes to the team store to buy a hat. Shortly after buying it, he notices a logo that is not the Baltimore Ravens. Or a logo that is the Baltimore Ravens, but the faded print says Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's crazy.
New era. I think it's time to ditch New Era, folks. Maybe it's time for Nike to take on hats as well. So,
That would be nice, but you know how expensive they would be if Nike was the ones that were making the hats and not New Era?
They can't make it anywhere near what New Era is doing it right now. Because New Era is at like $40 a hat almost. So I'll be fair there when I say it's still,
That's true. I was going to say watch, and then it's going to be like $60 a hat for Nike or something like that. So who knows?
But for that, New Era Tinkle on this. And with that, first off, before I ask you what's coming up, congratulations to you and Marty on 100 episodes of No Final Bell. I'm pretty sure Out of Turn 4 has passed that, but I've lost track after a while, and I just don't want to get back on track with it.
Yeah, it's crazy to get to 100 episodes. I didn't think it was going to be possible, but hey, thank you to the fans, I would say, to get there. But it was definitely a very long process because there was a time there I was like, do we really want to keep it going or not? But we kept it going, and I'm kind of grateful that we did.
As far as Out of Turn 4, or not Out of Turn 4, goodness gracious, something
I
more.
mean, if you want to switch hosting duties, it's just the quality's going to go down.
No Final Bell. There was a lot of AEW talk heading into the pay-per-view, setting up some storylines. We had Battle of the Belts, no titles changed hands. Dynamite Rampage, Collision, and Battle of the Belts. So episode is out now, so if you want to, go ahead. If you're wrestling fans, go ahead and watch it. I will say you will not be disappointed. Hopefully not. We talk a little bit. I think we. Also, we do have the Impact Wrestling special out there too. So if you don't want to watch about AEW and rather watch about Impact, you can watch that instead. So that's what's coming up on No Final Bell. So what's coming up with No Final? Oh my God!
Out of Turn 4.
Jesus.
Well, coming up on No Final Bell is exactly what you just said, and coming up on Out of Turn 4, we've got, some more silly season news, and one came out of left field that we talked about on Tuesday, but this upcoming Tuesday, again, more silly season news. It's our second to last episode before racing season comes to an end. We gotta talk about the F1 Andretti bid. As much as I hate talking F1, we've got to talk about that because it's getting pretty dramatic. So we're going to talk about that as well. We're also going to give our championship picks. It's championship race weekend in Phoenix coming up. So that'll end the NASCAR season and thus end our season. That's what's coming up on Out of Turn 4. That's all we got for today. I hope you guys are liking the new social content we're trying to get out. We're trying to be sure our episodes or our shows are getting kind of displayed more on Instagram, Facebook, and X. So we hope you guys are seeing those posts, and hopefully they're leading you to our page as well as our link tree. I haven't done a post for No Final Bell yet, but I'm going to do it once we're done recording. You guys will have already seen it. But, we'll... We're trying to stay on top of it. We're trying to grow the channel. Share it with, everyone you know. Let's get these ratings up, guys. Come on. I'm never one to care about numbers that much. I'm just here to have fun. If you guys enjoyed along the way, I hope you do. But I'm one that, I just want to see those numbers go up. I feel like we do a good job here. So,
Right.
And obviously I want to see what you guys think. So, feedback is always appreciated. But again, tune in to Out of Turn 4 and No Final Bell this week, and we'll be back here on Sunday with a little bit more of an updated Sunday morning Tinkle than just Wednesday afternoon. Till then, bye everyone.